Hi,
Hello.
I'm the crouching tigerfish, and he's the hidden dragonfly. And welcome to Late to the Scene, Oscar edition.
Yeah, I guess
Well, I mean, so
that's what brought. That's what it's one. As you could see, I bought the movie, having never seen it because I'm going to get to this movie at some point in time, and this was kind of an excuse just to like finally watch it.
yeah, and it was one that I had always been. I watched another reviewer basically talk about Multiverse of Madness,
Okay.
and I remember them saying somewhere, and it was one of the people that I kind of respect as a reviewer.
Sure.
And he said, Multiverse of Madness was okay, but they did it far better in Everything Everywhere All the Time. So if you want to see it done right, then go watch that movie instead, which I thought was interesting. So as soon as they said that shit, I was like, I've got to see this movie.
Okay.
But as you can see, we're doing Everything Everywhere All the Time.
All at once.
Yeah, all at once. Sorry. It cleaned up at the Oscars, so it was kind of like, okay, I need to see this movie. Nick had not seen the movie at the time of us deciding this, and we were just like, fuck it, let's do it.
I know. And excuse, I already had it. I didn't have to go searching it down. I don't think it's streaming anywhere yet.
I watched it on Buddy of Mine's Plex,
Yes.
and it was good. I'd buy it
Yes.
personally.
I have.
Well, yeah, no, but I mean, the way it was getting raved, and plus when I saw it had Short Round in it, I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to watch this movie. But anyways, we're going to get into. I've already tilted my hand, so don't change your fucking.
I've got it. Right
Okay, good. So, Nick, if you had to rate this movie 0 to 10, what would you give it?
Which I have to because this is the thing we're doing.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a 7.
7?
Yeah, because I enjoyed this movie, and let me see what you got. I want to see it.
I gave it Infinity. I thought you'd say you liked it Infinity.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, that's close.
Okay.
What about you, Lance?
I would give this movie a 8. So that's a good guess.
It was before when I was rating it before we hit record. I'm like, this is a bald face guess because we have not talked about this movie one lick. Mm-hmm. I knew very little about this movie other than the two main actors, Michelle Yeoh and Ki Chuan. Short Round. I don't entirely know how to pronounce his last name because I don't hear about him that often.
I don't know if he's been doing a lot since this movie, so
That much I know. Is that like there's not necessarily a great amount of parts for Asian American actors in Hollywood.
true.
And he's kind of like, I guess there's not really much for me to do. I'm not as going to be as focused on it anymore.
He's super lovable.
And he's so good in this movie too.
Yeah, he really is. So yeah, we're going into spoiler territory now. So if you haven't watched this movie,
You should.
yeah, definitely.
It's at least worth one watch. Me owning it on Blu-ray, whatever, I'll probably watch it again at some point. But I'm not like clamoring to get to it immediately. Or it's going to be one day at some point in time where I'm going to be like, well, let me watch that movie. And luckily for me,
This movie was enough mindfuckery for me to want to go back and watch it again because
and try to pick out some of the stuff.
so I was following along.
Spoilers.
Yeah, no, it's here we go.
Spoilers.
Welcome back.
Yes.
So I was following along with what they were trying to say pretty fast. It took me a second to kind of catch on to the thought of do something really fucking weird to boost yourself somewhere else.
It's you make a choice that breaks timelines because that's not a normal choice that someone would choose to make.
Right.
Therefore, it allows you to open up weird paths to things, which is kind of silly.
Yeah, well, it's silly, but I mean,
it's fun.
Well, yeah, it's a fun vehicle because
You get a lot of
pays off at the end.
You got a lot of humor moments where Michelle Yeoh is just kind of doing things that are weird and seeing what kind of powers it can grant her.
Yeah, and they're just like, no, that's not the way that works, and then she just keeps fucking doing it.
Yeah.
Because Hot Dog Fingers World was kind of funny. But I think one of my favorite ones is when the husband was just kind of like, okay, and he kind of stepped out and did the chapstick thing,
and chewed up chapstick.
Yeah, and they're just like, like that whole scene was gold. But yeah, I really dug this flick. I think Jamie Lee Curtis was excellent in it.
Yeah.
I can't think of any bad performances by anybody in the movie. I like the turn because I thought they were going to make the dad like fucking useless, and then he even had a turn come in, which I thought was kind
Oh,
of
yeah,
neat.
we had like his robo suit.
Yeah, made of toasters and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was the movie to me was fun from beginning to end, and it was another one of those movies that occasionally you'll get those movies that kind of give you like an epiphany.
Okay.
And I had like a little tiny one at the end of that movie because I like the concept of what we know is what we've been able to put together from chaos. And I liked her explanation of we're all fucking stupid and we build this thing we call intelligence and knowledge to make us feel less secure in a world that's just in a universe that's full of chaos.
Yes. So it's kind of the meaning I was taking away from it too, where you've got the daughter who like looked and saw everything. It's like, it's just chaos. Then you have her mother look at everything and go, it's chaos, but you're my daughter and I want to focus on you and you're what's important. And kind of be able to ignore all of the chaos and find the meaning in it, where her daughter wasn't really able to find the meaning, joy. Or what was her, Jabu something or other?
It was
It's gonna make me pull up the IMDb.
yeah, I don't remember. I think it's like I remembered Jimbo.
It was Jabu. I know it was Jabu, but everything else on top of Jabu is what I don't remember. Because I mean, Jabu Tupaki. Jobu Tupaki.
Yes. And then she was like, "You're saying nonsense words." Yes. So even I guess even for I guess the Chinese direct is just kind of like it's still made up.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's chaos essentially.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And it's chaos, and in the chaos you find joy.
Interesting. Interesting. Did not put that together. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, I had like a little epiphany moment at the end of the movie because I've always thought it was neat. Like whenever you hear Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about like we're just atoms that basically just kind of cling together, and why don't they just fly apart and go like somewhere else? What makes this form this? Like why is it programmed to do the thing it does?
Which I guess why they're in some universes they're rocks is because in that particular universe life never formed, so those atoms that would have made up you are that.
Yeah. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Like the movie made a lot of silly choices, which I think in the long run was kind of a bold choice.
Yeah.
Because you kind of really have to engage with the movie and say, I want to go along with whatever they're doing. Because like some of the matter is kind of heavy, but it's presented to you in a really silly way.
It's trying to get you to follow along during the scene in which, you go to the IRS office and she shows her awards. I'm like, those are butt plugs. And then she's like, well, you stop a lot of bullshit. I'm like, okay, okay. And then later you've got the guy who's got to do, in order to become a good fighter, he's got to shove that award up his ass.
Right. Yeah. But like,
and then the movie's got to keep you with it to be like, okay, a man comes dive bombing out of nowhere onto a butt plug, and then it's an action scene, and you just got to roll with it.
And then another guy has a trophy up his ass. It's kind of like, okay, sure, why not? Just, I mean, instead of like dive bombing onto the fucking butt plug, just stick a stapler up there. It's also a weird thing to do, and you'll probably get what you need. But yeah, like when she was fighting with the extra long dildos and shit like that, I thought that was funny. The movie to me was just highly entertaining from beginning to end. What were some takeaways you had?
There's a lot of interesting stuff in there. Like, I kind of dug it's not like the husband, what's his name? Wang? No, it was, Waymond wanted to get a divorce. Not because he wanted a divorce, but because it felt like you only listen to me when something big has happened, and here's something big. And I was hoping that by bringing it to you, it would force a conversation out of you. I'm like, okay, that was kind of interesting. And kind of a weird takeaway, something I wouldn't necessarily think of. I also liked that the reason why this character is notable is because this is the version of her that has made every wrong choice.
It's the least interesting, most undeveloped version of her.
Yeah, and she is like someone who had so much ideas of where she could potentially go that says she's got like the biggest branches. But this version of her is kind of down, like I said, at the center of a big web of all the other things she could have been. I'm like, that's kind of fun. Imagine like you find out you're the worst Lance. Every choice you've ever made, it's the wrong choice.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
And you're dead smack in the middle of the grid.
Yeah.
So, see, that was the other epiphany moment I had too, because like it was like she's seeing like all these other lives. One of the lines that struck me was when she saw herself as the kung fu action star, and she was like, "Oh, my life was so great if I'd never met you, or if I'd never ran away with you."
Yeah.
And like the look on his face,
Because she's like, "Oh my god, my life would have been so great if I never met you."
it's so beautiful. My life is so beautiful if I would have never left with you. And he was just fucking eviscerated. And like when she said that, I had this epiphany moment where he was like, "You're just so average. You're just so unremarkable. You've got to be the one." Mm-hmm. And I was trying to figure out what angle they were playing with that, because if you're just the average one, like surely the kung fu star you can get to a place, but you're so far over on the one side of the map.
You essentially have to work all the way back,
right?
And then work all the way somewhere else. So I guess it's a longer path, to get to where you need to go.
But I loved when he was like, "You're the one," and then like after like 20 minutes, he's like, "You're not the one. I gotta go."
And then he dipped, and then she's like, "No, it is me." So I just start doing random ass shit to try to get it to happen.
Yeah, you want to help me figure this out, or do you want to just lay down and fucking? She's like, "I'll just lay down." No, you can't just do that. Get back up. Yeah. But yeah, I had a little bit of an epiphany moment in that movie just because of the fact that I kind of thought to myself, "It's like, what have I accomplished?" Mm-hmm. And like, I wouldn't change anything from what got me to where I was to where I am.
Yes, because what you have now is
pretty great.
Yeah.
But
what would it look like?
Yeah.
If other choices were made.
And that to me is it's a very interesting thought exercise. I thought this movie deserved every award it got. I think that the actors deserved every award they got. Short Round was fan-fucking-tastic in the movie. He was so lovable. Like, he was the heart of, like, everything that was going on.
It's kind of turned, like, the last... Because you could have just had another action sequence at the end, but he's kind of like, no, don't just beat people up. Find another way to do it. So then, near the end, when she's walking up the stairs, she's fulfilling everyone's, like, what they're missing in their life. So it's kind of like that one guy needed a hug or whatever, and the other guy's like, "You need your Ratatouille back, or Rakakuni.
Rakakuni.
You need your Rakakuni back." So in this universe, we're going
to put you on my shoulders, and you're going to control me over to the van.
First, we're going to start with me controlling you. It's like I'll ride you, and then near the end, when it's like failing, it's like you get on me, and we'll get you your Rakakuni back.
Yeah, I was going to take the little raccoon. I don't know if he's still up there. Maybe he's not. I think our son spotted it, and Amber had to move it because that thing is like vintage, and he's just going to try and tear the head off of it. But, yeah, for 1 year at Dragon Con, I'm going to put that thing on my head. I'm going to just walk around in a chef outfit
and be
be Rakakuni. Yeah, exactly.
Which was just funny too. Like when she was explaining them, and you mean Ratatouille? It's like those are just nonsense words.
I like that movie.
Those are nonsense words. It was a raccoon riding his head. He's Rakakuni.
And I fell for it too, because she was like, like the movie Rakakuni, and they were like, "No, I think you're talking about Ratatouille." And like before they said that, I was like, "It's Ratatouille. Are we in a universe where Ratatouille doesn't exist?" And he's like, "I like that movie." I was like, "Yeah, exactly. It's a good fucking movie. Like, don't pick on it. It's a good movie." But yeah, it was just, I thought that was some of the choices they make in the movie are ridiculously, like, over the top silly. But you go with it.
Yeah.
Because that's the fucking ticket you bought.
Yep. I also like when, speaking of ridiculous choices or whatever, like she was going through that whole ridiculous thing in front of James Hong, Gong Gong, the grandfather. And one of the universes, she finds out that in this room there's a secret sex dungeon behind that door. So now she knows how to open it and push him into it, or like push him out of the way and hide in it for a second. Like it's just so random. You even go to a universe that's not useful, you gain information out of it or something.
And fulfilling that guy's fantasy at the end was putting the ball gag in his mouth and and he was off to the races.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect that movie to be as good as it was. I mean, I know it cleaned up at the Oscars, but at the same time,
so did Crash, and no one ever talks about Crash.
Yeah, well, so I think last year, this is not racial. I'm just saying what I thought when it happened. Jamie Lee Curtis has not won an Oscar, as far as I know, because I know people were just like, finally.
No, I don't know. I don't follow these things.
Neither do I. I don't. I know my buddy Patrick can probably, because he is big into the Oscars and everything like that. And he's another great reviewer. Trick Slicks. Check him out. But I think Jamie Lee Curtis won, Michelle Yeoh won, and Short Round won. And I think people automatically were like, okay, well, last year I think everybody that wasn't white got snubbed. So it's like this year was like, that is not an Oscar movie. That is not a movie that typically gets mentioned.
But yeah, when you think of an Oscar-winning movie, I think of boring, like
Chocolat.
yeah,
and-
Chocolat and The Artist, and like I don't. It sounds like a lot of people flating themselves over like how artsy and amazing their movie is, and I just that's why I've never really. It's what does the Oscar committee think is a good movie? Well, so far the Oscar committee doesn't really put forth movies that I think are amazing. Only occasionally will be like Best Picture for like or Lord of the Rings cleaned up, and I'm like, well, I like that movie. I'm surprised you guys liked it too, honestly.
Yeah, like the Screen Actors Guild Awards is something that I like to watch just because it's basically people in the industry basically giving nods to other people in the industry. The Oscars is basically, it's supposed to be the biggie of the big, but it's like the people who are actually picking that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck are they? And then
Yeah.
once you find out that it's like, how many lunches did you buy them? Did you give them a swag bag?
Yeah.
Like, those are the stuff that's considered. Because I think it was a few years ago, somebody said, well, we didn't take them to any lunches or any of that stuff, so we know
Yeah, we're not.
that we're not up there.
We didn't champion for the movie or whatever. We didn't push. We didn't try to bribe anybody. We just kind of made a movie. We're not gonna get it because other people are doing that. Therefore, who's got the most money to buy the award?
Right. And honestly, because it won as much as it did at the Oscars, I didn't think it was going to be as silly as it was. And when I watched it at the end of the movie, I looked at Amber and I went, would you have ever guessed that this would have popped up at the Oscars? And she's like, no, this is not the kind of stuff that the Oscars usually throw up there. They'll throw it up there for like best secondary character and stuff like that, but not like best film or best supporting actress. But there's already the criers of fucking foul are already saying, well, everyone that's not white got snubbed last year, so this was the apology year. But honestly,
Who cares if it's good?
I mean,
And I don't know. You're always going to find people be like, they're just doing it because of this. Be like, just a good movie won.
yeah.
Can we be happy that a good movie won?
Well, it's like, I hope that this is what launches less of the stuffy bullshit.
Yeah.
Because, like, this is the kind of stuff that I want to see win. You know? I don't want to watch a movie that's just got me bored out of my fucking mind from beginning to end. Just because it's artsy and the auteur of this movie actually shot it from a low angle to make her feel smaller and him feel bigger in this moment. Don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not a filmmaker.
yeah.
I'm not surprised by amazing shots you make. It'd be like, oh, see, the Dutch angle is to show how off kilter he is or whatever. Like, I don't.
The dress they wore and the way they
necessarily
walked
want
across the camera is reminiscent of Marlon Brando in A Streetcar Named Desire. Like, I don't care about that stuff.
I tend not to notice super deep stuff about films. I just watch them.
No, I mean, if they make me feel a certain way,
Yeah. And,
then
yeah, and see if the movie makes me feel. That's what made me feel a little bit. Where it's
Yeah.
kind of like, life sucks, world's chaos, but at least I have you.
yeah, and nothing fucking matters. Life's chaos. But like, I like the way that it gets silly and then it would round back on something serious. Like the first time Joy showed up and like she taped her to the chair and Gong Gong was like, he handed her the fucking box cutter and was
Just to
like,
get rid of her.
get rid of her in this universe now.
Because there's at least one universe she can't show up in or whatever.
Right. And like when that part was heavy, especially when she was walking over to her with the blade out and Joy's like, Mom, what are you doing? And then she cut the tape and I was like, of course she cut the tape, but they made it feel like she was considering it for a minute there. And I think my favorite line uttered out of the entire movie was, everything on a bagel. I fucking loved that line. I loved Joy as
Jobu.
Jobu
Tupaki.
Jobu Tupaki.
Yeah.
I loved her as that character. I thought she was fantastic.
It's in the one universe. I made an everything bagel, literally, an everything bagel.
Wikipedia comments, dog hair, like, yeah. And then like the everything bagel looked crazy.
Yeah.
Which was reminiscent. I don't know which came out first, but there was a Dimension 20 episode where somebody had a bagel with everything on it. And in my mind, I was like, oh, it's got like sesame seeds and like bacon. But like, no, apparently if they were lifting that from this movie, then...
Oh, you know what it reminds me of? Do you remember in 3.5, the Robo Useful Things? You'd have a patch with a ladder on it and you pull it off. It's a ladder. So you just take an everything bagel and be like, I need a potion. You take the potion thing off and there it is. Maybe that? Or maybe this. Who knows?
Yeah, to the nth degree. I mean, it's one thing if it was like, I put a sword and some sesame seeds, and then I put like some fish oil. But no, she's like, I had like Wikipedia things,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like just like literally every fucking thing, because that's the way the universe is to her. Everything's out of order, and she could just smash it all to fucking together.
It's something else. I've watched some of the special features on it, and something I wouldn't notice, but like when she put the googly eye in her head, it's the inverse of the everything donut, because it's black in the center with white on the outside, and where all of her followers have the black circle with white in the center.
Interesting.
So she's kind of the opposite of the everything bagel.
Okay.
And then she kind of put it to her third eye, and then kind of as a representation of. That's kind of cool.
I did not make that connection. It was just
I wouldn't
googly
have-
eyes.
I wouldn't have.
Googly eyes were just on everything.
Well, I just like
So-
that. There was the one scene like early on where they're in the laundromat, and she's walking around and she sees the googly eyes on something, and then she's speaking in Cantonese, or she's speaking in Mandarin, I think, and then just the word Google eyes. So like Chinese Google eyes. I'm like, that's funny.
What? They looked so sad.
Yeah.
The laundry's happier in here. It was just kind of like, okay, laundry's happy.
I
Got it.
kind of find that as someone who is not bilingual, the kind of mixture of, I know what it is in this language. I don't know what it is in another language, so I'll just
Say it in English?
Yeah, swap them back and forth. Or I'm trying to get my point across in like English, but I don't know what that is, so I'll just swap to Chinese and just kind of like.
That's a good point. Like, I was worried they were going to do the thing like Hunt for Red October, where they start speaking like Russian in the beginning, and then it just goes to English.
And then they're speaking Chinese the whole time.
Right, and then because they started with
Right.
Chinese, and then they started talking English, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. And then they were just going back and forth, which checks out because one of my best friends growing up, Sonny Troy, I used to go over to his house like to play PlayStation a lot, and like his mom, dad, his sister, and everything. Whenever they would talk to each other, it was literally a bunch of shit. That I don't know if they're calling me fat white boy right now, because like when Chinese people, when they talk to each other, it's almost like Russian. It sounds very aggressive.
It's
Very animated.
It's a tone language. Like
Right.
I took like a semester of Chinese, and I didn't necessarily stick with it because I'm pretty monotonous. I don't inflect one way or the other, and you can't do that in Chinese. There's 4 tones. There's like the rising tone, there's like the flat tone, there's the lowering tone, and then there's the tone that falls and rises again, and all that stuff. I can't keep in mind that like ma is different from ma. I'm like, that's the same word. Stop messing with me. I don't know. I can't wrap my brain around it.
Yeah.
So I'll stick with Japanese because that's much easier.
Well, I mean, him and I would be up in his room playing PlayStation, and then his mom would just come in and like start. It sounded like he was yelling at him. She was yelling at him, and then like when he walked away, I was like, "Is everything okay?" And he's like, "No, she's fine. She was just telling me about some stuff I need to do tomorrow." I was like, "Sound like you were in trouble," and he's like, "Well, you inferred some of that right. If I don't do the thing she told me, I'm going to be in trouble." And I was like, "Okay, got it." So, but like they would do that too, where it was like Chinese, something completely in English, Chinese. So it all checks out.
There's a movie I'll have to show you at some point in time called Saving Face. I doubt you've seen it because I've barely seen it before. And it was another one where about like it's not weird like this one. It's more of like, hey, I'm the son of. I think she was first generation. I think her parents moved to America from China. And it was just that kind of like this is what her life is about, and not living up to her parents' expectations. Reminded me a lot of Joy in this one because that one is also about a gay woman as well, and kind of like her mom being upset that like this is how she wants to live her life, and why can't you just be normal and all that whole thing.
I didn't so much take it that way. I felt like her mom was.
Yeah, it's definitely not as bad with it. I'm talking about like in Saving Face, where the mom's like, "Why can't you just be more normal?" This one is just kind of like she's not gonna. Well, he's old. I don't want to bring him a heart attack.
I don't want to rock the boat, right? But it's like it showed you the difference between her father and her, because her father was a right prick. Little girl always running and hiding. Why don't you do this? And like he's one of those people that sounds like he's like always disappointed in her, no matter what she does. With her, it's like at least she was trying.
Yeah.
She might have seemed like she was uncomfortable with some of it, but at least she was trying.
Yeah, and I think she even took that lesson from like, why was it like, Dad? Why was it so easy for you to let me go? I'm not going to do the same to my daughter. And at the same time, holding on a bit too tight and just being a bit too overbearing or whatever. Like when she was going to go out to apologize her and said, she's like, "You're too fat. Like, stop eating." And you can't just bring yourself to say what you need to say because she's the worst version of herself, as it turns out.
Right. But then also Joy even points out, it's like she says terse things, but that's her way of saying I love you. So yeah, and
What she does at the end when she's like, "Oh, Becky, grow out your hair."
yeah, you need to grow out your hair. Yeah. Amber at the end of the movie, she made the same comment because I kind of came to it too. Because like it slaps you in the face of it's generational damage. You know, stuff damage that we incur, that we move down the generations, that echo through our fucking families.
and causes new damage.
Yeah.
Or similar damage in some cases too.
Like, we don't want to hurt the people we love. We don't want to hurt people in our family, but we were treated this way, so it makes us think that this is normal.
Yeah, or where like your parents were never let you do whatever the hell you wanted, and you kind of know all the trouble that led to. So when now you're a parent, you're like, well, I'm going to take the kid. I'm not going to give him all that stuff because I know how bad that was. But so now you're overbearing. And now your parent, maybe your kid, when they have a kid or when they have a children, it's like, well, my parents are overbearing. I'm going to try to let them do whatever, and then that
They become a right prick.
and you got just a new cycle, and it's generations of people screwing with each other and kind of carrying that baggage from previous generations.
But I mean, if that's the point, it's like you can't get it right because there's no such thing as a perfect person. So there's always going to be like this generational baggage, this generational torment that happens. Like, I think it's neat that movies are pointing it out now because quite a few of the movies we've watched lately, because as soon as the credits rolled, Amber goes, so it's another movie about generational damage passed down from, parent to child. And so on and so forth. And I said, yeah, that's pretty much it. Because, like, that was basically Encanto,
Sure.
Not the same premise.
But yeah, essentially, like, whereas in Canto, the villain is kind of like family.
Yeah. But it was...
I think this one, the villain would be more chaos.
Yeah, it was... Well, I mean, it's the threat of losing everything because nothing matters.
Yeah.
And, like, I thought that was a weird message at the end of it when she was just like, nothing matters. Like, nothing matters. And, like, she was kind of like, okay, I'll sign the divorce, take the fucking place. I'm just going to beat the window with a baseball bat. I'm going to kick your ass because nothing matters.
Yeah.
But that is literally... I feel like we live in a time where people will see something like that, and, like, some of the weirdies will be like, is that the message that the fucking tinfoil aliens are trying to send me, that nothing matters?
Watch this movie, and the point is nothing matters. Like, no, you have to keep going one more step.
Yeah, it was an interesting way that they turned that, but at the same time, it's like, to me, it didn't really pay off. But it was just like her way of basically saying, you care about certain things too much, you just need to let the fuck go. And then when she did, a lot of it kind of seemed like it sorted itself out, but it wasn't to anything that she did. When the woman was all pissed off and came in to, like, take the store or whatever, after she got punched in the face, and then, like, other stuff happened to her.
But that didn't happen in that one. The one where she got punched in the face was the Ruined Universe. This would have been a universe in which she went home to get the papers and just didn't go back to do it. I think.
I'm not sure, but
It's a universe fuckery, because you've got that universe, but then you've got the other universe. I don't think she punched Deirdre in that universe.
see, I think she did, because for some reason I remember.
Okay, maybe she said it.
Maybe we're wrong.
Which could be. The way I thought of it was that's the universe, and an alternate universe in which she listens, goes home, and does the taxes, not gets in a fist fight with Deirdre and does all that crazy thing. Because in that universe, she died briefly and came back, and that's what.
But see, that was also the same universe where she went to her father at the end of it and said, "It's Joy's girlfriend. It's his girl. It's her girlfriend."
Yeah, which is not the universe in which she saves Joy from the everything bagel.
Right. So, like, I thought it might have been the same one.
Maybe I interpolated that as a branch off from Wayman never coming back and messing with that one, so that's what that one would have looked like. But maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, it's so hard to follow.
Yeah. And I think on purpose.
Yeah, but I mean, when they branched you off to another universe, they let you know it, because, like, this one's hot dog fingers with weird cheese that comes out your fingertip or something.
I'm not sure if it was cheese coming out, or if they're rubbing hot or like condiments on their fingers, and that's their sex thing.
I don't know, but it's like they were shoving stuff into people's mouth, and the next thing you know, there's cheese in their mouth, and I was like, okay.
I did enjoy the 2001 Space Odyssey, the hot dog finger monkeys beating up the fingered monkey.
Yeah, and then the regular hand comes up and yeah, I thought that was good. But like the whole thing of like nothing matters, and then like she does what she does. They set her down in handcuffs, and then Short Round walks over to her and just whispers something to her, and she's like, "Okay." And then like this was where I guess the major epiphany came for me. It was like we live in a world where we think things are a certain way, so we play the game in a certain way. But there's always a way to do what you're looking for if you know how to get there.
Yeah.
So case in point. And I'll make this quick. Got overdrawn on a bank account. Didn't have the money in there. Got charged overdraft fee. Paid the overdraft fee. Or actually, I went in and I talked to him about it, and they was like, "Yeah, we're just gonna waive it. No big deal." Okay, cool. And then when it happened again on something that I bought something on PayPal and I didn't realize I still had that account hooked up. Got charged again for an overdraft fee, and I went back to the thing, and they were like, "Look, we do it one time a year. Everybody gets one, and then after that, you're fucked." I had a bad situation come up where I had to basically ask for forgiveness. They did the one time, and then I went back on 2 times I got hit, and the girl was like, "Cool." Like, she did not give a shit. She didn't say another word about it. She didn't make me feel self-conscious about, overdrawing or any of that shit. She was just cool about it. And, like, it just made me think, this person from this bank says we do one.
Yeah.
And then this person from this other bank is just like, you seem like nice people that are hard on your luck. It's like nothing's set in stone. And that's what I appreciated about the part of her walking around the corner like, fuck these people. They're bad people. We're taking your fucking parlor. Then the one person who I think is like kind of the heart of the movie whispers that one little thing in her ear, and she's like, "Okay,
We'll extend it to tomorrow."
yeah." Like, it's just if you know,
it's that you fill in like, "Look, we're going through some hard stuff. Here's all of our shit that we're going through. We're sorry. We're not trying to be malicious. We're sorry."
it's empathy.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me it was just such chaos at that point, where like you would have had to have been, you would have had to tell me something fucking crazy, like she just had 5 kids die this morning, for me to be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
bitch hit me with a baseball bat," or she tried to hit me with a baseball bat. She kicked me. She punched me earlier. Like, for her just roll over like she did. But it goes to show you. And then even Joy playing devil's advocate when she was leaning out in the car was like, just remember, nothing fucking matters. Like, you don't have to do any of this stuff. You don't have to play the game any certain way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I liked a lot about this movie.
That's good. I enjoyed this movie a good deal. And I'll revisit it at some point in time. Not soon, but at some point.
It's just fun to say.
No, when like Joy showed up and I'm like, I know her from something. And the thing I know her from is she's in one episode of Kimmy Schmidt, a show I've been trying to get you to watch, in which she's the one character who offends herself and therefore attains enlightenment or something and gets like teleported away. And I don't know why, but she just looked very familiar to me. And I'm like, I've got to know her from something. One episode of Kimmy Schmidt. Oh, okay, I know who she is now.
Yeah, she was adorable, man.
Yeah,
and she was
great.
Fantastic in this movie.
She was great.
Everything on a bagel. I was like, when she said that, I was like, oh, I'm going to be saying that for like a week. But yeah, if you haven't watched this movie, get on it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
If you're like Nick and you've bought the DVD and it's just sitting there.
There's plenty of movies I've bought and they're just sitting there waiting for me to watch them. I think I've mentioned Black Swan being like one I bought and it's on my shelf, and one day I'm going to watch that movie and I just haven't gotten around to it.
It's funny, I have Black Swan over there too. Never watched it.
It's another one where if I like this one, I heard like, man, this movie's amazing. I'm like, oh, okay, from what I've heard, I'm probably going to like it. But then I just
didn't get around to
just
it.
can get around to it, and then you just continue not to get around to it, and then you've got other things. Well, I've not gotten around to this one yet, but I just got this one. I've not gotten around to it, so I'm gonna watch this one instead. And it just kind of it's on the pile.
It's like Eyes Wide Shut. I've never seen that movie, but people tell me it's amazing.
You can skip it.
Yeah.
I watched it once years ago, and thought it was garbage. It might not be. That could have just been younger me's take, but I hated that movie. I was bored. Was more than anything.
Movie about partner swapping, right? And like the dangers of partner swapping.
I don't even know if it was. It was more like the wife wanting to do some weird, crazy stuff, and like him trying to like discover it. I don't know. I was bored by it.
Have you seen Vanilla Skies?
I don't think I have.
Okay, I'm probably gonna ask you to watch that one pretty soon.
Well, luckily, that's not what this episode is.
No.
But that's how we come up with ideas for that show. Is when you're if anyone watches it and you're like, man, Lance asks Nick if he's seen a movie and he doesn't know what it is, and then Nick fills him in. It's because we talk about it.
And then the scores of people like joined down in the comments and like, yeah, no, totally, watch that movie. And by scores, I mean Amber. I don't think she's seen it either. So, all right. Well, you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think as for a bonus episode, this is plenty of content to wet someone's whistle. Watch the movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, one gripe I did have about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Silence. Silent. Everything. The chapter markers.
Oh yeah.
The very first one was super fucking loud.
Okay.
And we're sitting there. I have the volume cranked up a little bit because they're kind of talking quietly. And then all of a sudden they do that, and I was just like, so just not to wake up the baby. But
no, were you faked out by the fake ending at the end of part 2?
Oh, where she dies or whatever.
I think it's the end of part 1 where she dies, and then it's like starts showing the credits.
No, I wasn't faked out because I even said thanks for watching.
No, I mean, me neither, Mike. That's not where you're in the movie.
Yeah, but well, I mean, I do that for everything. Like when it seems like the main person of the movie like dies or whatever, or things get super bleak or whatever, I always go thanks for watching, and then like act like I'm about to get up and walk out, even though like it's 10 minutes into an hour and a half movie.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't faked out just because I've been conditioned by Tropic Thunder. Don't buy what's going on because and plus the names in the movie were like absurd.
Oh, I don't remember.
And I want to talk 1 second about Raccacoonie. That part was fucking funny. Like that's really good stuff. Because that raccoon looked so bad.
It did.
It looked so
Which
bad.
was just part of the... Well, also you had Jenny Slate throwing the obviously stuffed dog at her, and her using her Ratatouille skills to like cut a leash as it was flying at her, and it just soared into
the refrigerator.
Yeah. Well, that was before, like after that. Like she threw it, she put it in the refrigerator, and then she like, let me do something weird real quick and get my. Then she got her chef skills. She like flung it at her. She cut it, and then it just soared into the office.
Yeah. As soon as she popped up, Amber went, "Money, please." I said,
Money,
"Shit,
please."
that is her."
Yeah.
All right, so I'm done.
Bye, please.
Money, please. Rating, please.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.